Mayor Barton highlights downtown work at latest meeting. Dan Kearns, The Standard, Uxbridge. Mayor Dave Barton defended his council's reputation for downtown improvement at a meeting on Monday, September 16th. The conversation occurred when councilors saw a report from the municipality's Downtown Revitalization Strategic Plan. The Downtown Revitalization Strategic Plan and Action Plan was completed in 2022. Since the completion of the plan, the township has worked to implement the plan's vision, goals, and key actions. This includes the preparation of conceptual drawings for future development of the downtown, including a town square, to serve as a tool to communicate the vision and key characteristics of downtown to future developers and private property owners. In addition, the township has coordinated with the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority, LSRCA, to put in place regulations to allow the development of properties no longer impacted by the floodplain as a result of the completion of a construction project to replace a series of large culverts under Brock Street East in the downtown, the report stated. Mayor Barton said there appears to be a perception out there council is doing nothing to improve Uxbridge's downtown area, including Toronto Street, Main Street, and Brock Street. We often hear criticism, whether in the paper or online, that we're not doing anything to support our downtown. When you think of the plans we put in place and consider the expropriations, we are doing the most aggressive tactic you can take, Mayor Barton explained. Ontario government announces funding increase to ambulances and related services. Dan Kearns, The Standard. Durham, Kawartha Lakes. The Ontario government is increasing investments to enable municipalities to increase access to ambulances. The announcement was made by Health Minister Sylvia Jones at a press conference on Thursday, September 12th. The Ontario government is giving an 8% increase in ambulance funding to municipalities, amounting in $877 million investment across the province this year. The government is also investing $33 million to the Dedicated Offload Nurses program. An Ontario government press release explained, this program helps hospitals hire more nurses and other eligible health professionals who are dedicated to offloading ambulance patients in hospital emergency departments. I want to thank Ontario's incredible paramedics who step in each day and every day, often facing challenging situations, to provide high-quality care in your community. We will continue to work with our municipal healthcare and community partners to provide paramedic services with the tools they need to provide high-quality care when and where they need it, Minister Jones said. She noted the Ontario government is focused on strengthening all aspects of our healthcare system and making it faster and easier to access key services. Kawartha Conservation invites people to their autumn festival. Dan Kearns, The Standard. Kawartha Lakes. Kawartha Conservation will be hosting their third annual autumn festival at Ken Reid Conservation Area on Saturday, September 28th from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. The event is free for people to attend, and according to the Kawartha Conservation website, Kawartha Conservation invites families to immerse themselves in the beauty of autumn, offering thrilling entertainment and various ways to connect with nature. We've increased the number of birds of prey shows we're going to be offering this year. So the Canadian Raptor Conservancy will be joining us for the entire day and is going to be hosting 3 live demonstrations during the day. The last 2 times we hosted the Autumn Festival, these demonstrations were always a massive hit. So we decided to offer the community more opportunities to come out and interact with those creatures, Melissa Creasy-Alexander from Kawartha Conservation told The Standard. In our vendors markets, guests are going to have the opportunity to connect with some of the local businesses and the makers which we have out. We also have a food truck coming up to serve some hamburgers and fries and poutine and a lot of other good offerings, she continued. The Reptilia Zoo will also be making a return to this year's event. My favorite part is watching families enjoy themselves. The number of people who come up to us and thank us for putting on this event is great. Sometimes life is expensive, so to get a free opportunity to come out and explore the conservation area and take in all these different live shows, it can be a really big opportunity for a family, Ms. Creasy-Alexander stated. Ken Reid Conservation Area is located at 277 Ken Reid Road, Lindsay. For more information, go online to www.kawarthaconservation.com.
Brock Council discusses King Street Park project budget challenges. Daryl Knight, local journalism reporter for The Standard. Brock. At a recent meeting of Brock Township Council, the King Street Park project was the focus of significant discussion after tender submissions from 2 local contractors exceeded the approved budget. The township had hired RK and Associates to manage the project, but issues with the scope of the work and tender documents were identified, prompting a reevaluation of the project's future direction. Both contractors' bids came in significantly higher than anticipated. The budget of the park project, approved at $205,000, was based on contributions from multiple sources, including the Beaverton Lions Club, $100,000, development charges, $30,000, a CN grant, $25,000, and the King Street Trust, $50,000. Additionally, a separate $20,000 has been set aside for a new pickleball court, funded by a grant from the Canada Communities Building Fund. After Regional Councillor Mike Jubb questioned the scope of the work as it relates to the budget, the township's planning consultant indicated the project does fall within the budget. However, so-called scope creep pushed costs higher, with several add-ons which led to the recent meeting and a more thorough look at what was absolutely essential for the park project. One major element of the project was the construction of a pickleball court next to the existing tennis courts. However, the specifications for this court were not clearly outlined, which contributed to confusion during the tender process. Other notable issues included unaccounted for shipping costs for the red clay surface and incomplete details on construction requirements such as fencing, sodding, and seating. As a result of these challenges, councillors discussed changes to the scope of the work to bring the project back within budget. Notably, the red clay track surface will likely be replaced with a more affordable and locally sourced screening material. Instead of sod, the project will utilize hydro-seeding, which will bring the project back within budget. However, the extra time needed will likely impact the use of the park this year. If budget allows, councillors were committed to the idea the park will still have a soccer pitch with goalposts and nets. Council has directed staff to revise the scope of the work and post a new tender on the township's bids and tenders platform. The updated tender will include more precise details, aiming to attract a broader range of bidders and ensure the project stays within the approved budget. The King Street Park project is a vital community effort, and while challenges have arisen, the township is committed to completing the park with the necessary adjustments. The pickleball court, funded separately, remains part of the plan, and any trees removed for the track will be replaced with donations from the Beaverton Lions Club. Let your yes be yes, your no be no. If ever there was a time in history when we need truth, transparency, and accuracy in our world, it is now. It can be confusing and difficult living day to day, trying to understand and believe what our political, economic, news, social media, and healthcare spokespersons and commentators proclaim as true. Ambiguity and uncertainty can result from what we read or hear when it comes to seeking truth. Why is this? Sometimes it's because there are people who feel they can achieve more power, wealth, or a higher profile if they intentionally distort the truth for their own benefit/purpose. It can also occur as a result of poor or vague communication, possibly due to fear of what other people may think, or even trying to protect one's reputation. So what is the solution for this changing world of uncertainty and often lack of trust? I have found, as always, there are answers which help overcome these problems, and they are disclosed in the Bible. Matthew 5:37, NIV edition, addresses the title of this article. Simply let your yes be yes, and your no be no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. Also, Matthew 12:37 reminds us what avoiding this can result in. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned. So our words can be used for good or evil. They often reflect our character, especially when it comes to being trustworthy. Ideally, our character should encompass integrity and honesty, be as transparent as possible, and be saturated with truth. I remember it was said Stephen Harper, upon hearing he was to become Prime Minister of Canada, was given only one word of advice from his father: be a man of integrity. This will result in living our lives with commitment to our yes being yes. Also, an environment of trust and stability is likely to be the result from this environment of accountability. For example, when we commit to doing something for a person, they will be able to rest and not question if it will be done, as they will be able to trust we will honor that commitment. Even being firm when we say no which is often more difficult, leads us to a more stable environment, because uncertainty and misunderstanding can stimulate insecurity. When we issue a solid no to our children, especially when they are younger, it actually creates and gives them boundaries which will often protect them. Doubt and consequent anxiety will not be present because they are certain our no really means no. Then uncertainty and sometimes the emotional paralysis which can accompany it will not stop us from making good choices, as it will be replaced by peace, security, and resultant accomplishment. Life this way will, in fact, not be restricted, but enhanced, focused, and liberating, enabling us to make choices and act on them. Only God in His wisdom could produce these marvelous benefits as we choose to use our words wisely, accurately, and sparingly. The Bible says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, James 1:19, NIV. Still, in James 3:8 it says, but no man can tame the tongue, NIV. When we don't have an answer or a solution to a problem, it's okay to be silent, honest, and humble, saying we just don't know. After all, we do have someone we can go to get the eventual answers for our concerns. I believe it's never too late to change, to try interacting with others God's way. This is through love, with our yes being yes, and without compromise or fear of what other people may think. Try it. God will support anyone who is willing to take Him at His word so they may grow. Rob Pullen, Uxbridge.
Welcome to You've Got to Be Kidding, a podcast that offers a different perspective of life around us. Listen now to author Jonathan Van Bilsen.
I can't say I know much about farming, having only been to a farm a handful of times. The first visit was to my aunt's farm in the Netherlands. I remember the food being great, but the experience was marred by the German Shepherd biting me when I was 6. Apparently, taking a dog's food away is not a good idea. My second farm encounter was in my 20s, visiting a friend on a farm. Unfortunately, I happened to be there on the day they were castrating the piggies. That's an image you don't easily forget. It was another memorable time during a trip to New Zealand where I spent the better part of a day at a sheep farm. For those of you who have not been to the other land down under, New Zealand has 25 million sheep. They outnumber the people 5 to 1. Driving through the countryside, I saw sheep everywhere, and I noticed that many had different colors painted on their backs. I initially assumed the colors were a way to identify which farm they came from. But when I saw sheep with varying colors in the same field, I realized my theory did not hold up. I started to wonder if it was some strange breeding practice unique to New Zealand. The idea seemed odd, but I couldn't shake it, so I kept thinking about it until I finally got to the sheep farm. After watching the sheep get sheared and learning about different breeds, I couldn't resist asking the man running the farm about the colorful markings. It turns out that the colors are part of a practical system for the sheep ranchers. Ewes that give birth to twins are especially prized since it's more profitable. During breeding season, the rams are fitted with special breastplates that have colored crayons attached. This marks the ewes they mate with, allowing the ranchers to track which pairings produce twins. The ewes and rams with successful multiple offsprings are then selected for future breeding. It's a clever way to ensure the most productive sheep are kept in the breeding program. The simple use of color to track breeding success was fascinating. It certainly wasn't what I expected to learn about on my trip to the land of the Kiwi. What a concept. I'm Jonathan Van Bilsen, and this is You've Got to Be Kidding.
You've Got to Be Kidding was presented by X4 Media with permission from the Standard Media Group. We endeavor to make all information contained in this program as accurate as possible at production time. X4 Media and the Standard Media Group are not responsible for any liabilities resulting from information contained in this program. For more information, please visit x4media.ca.
The Standard Podcast was produced by Greenstream Studio for the Standard newspaper.